Boy, that intro never gets old, does it? I love that intro. Again, thank you to Peter Romero, our graphics and music supervisor, for putting that together for us. What a fantastic intro. I love it so much. We're back with Marketing Tip Tea Time. And as you can tell, I haven't quite gotten over my, little bit of a sore throat. So today we're going to see if I can get through, without coughing or sneezing or doing something like that. But today, let me tell you, we have another very special guest, and I say that every time, and I say that I say it every time. But today we have Hannes Schwarm, and let me tell you, this is going to be a fantastic episode that's going to have a lot of tips and tricks and sips of tea for you to enjoy. Hannes studied business administration with a focus on marketing in Germany and Hong Kong. After graduating, he worked for Volkswagen and VOK DAMS before starting the marketing consultancy Mr. Wolf Consulting in 2017. Hannes and his team help clients such as BMW, Commerzbank, Volkswagen, Lamborghini, BASF, and Swarovski to better understand their target group. Please help me in welcoming Hannes Schwarm. There he is. Hello, all the way from Germany.
All the way from beautiful Berlin, Germany, where it is currently 0 degrees Celsius. And thanks for having me. So glad to be on the show.
No problem. And what time is it in Germany right now?
It's actually 4 p.m. So the workday is ending. You are my last
Right.
and final call for today.
Wow, yeah, it's 8 a.m. here in Greeley, Colorado. So, yep, and it is also very cold here. It was very icy this morning getting to the studio. If you live in Colorado, you know it's cold this winter and lots of snow. Do you have lots of snow where you're at, Hannes?
I mean, Berlin is, of course, a big city, so there's not much snow that's sticking around for a couple of hours. Maybe we get some snow for a couple of minutes, and then everything is demolished by so many cars and everything.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Well, let me tell you, everyone, we're disappointed because the tea did not get to Hannes on time. I blame the United States Postal Service for this. All right, it's been plinking around the U.S. for about a week and a half. Hasn't even left Florida yet, I don't think. But we had a beautiful, beautiful tea picked out for Hannes that the team at Rishi helped us to pick out. It is one of their Garden Direct teas. And if you don't know what that is, a Garden Direct tea is actually, they have these partners around the world that they go and they hand pick from organic, small community gardens and then hand dry the teas and ship them to the United States. So this specific tea that Rishi helped us to pick out for Hannes, which he won't be enjoying with us on the show, but we'll be enjoying later, is the Uji Homare Gyokuro. And this tea, let me tell you a little bit about it, because this is very special. They only had 300 of these produced this year, and I got batch 186, so Hannes is going to be getting batch somewhere in the 180s. We'll see which one he gets. But let me tell you a little bit about it. And shout out to Rishi T for trying to get this to him as fast as possible and for dealing with all of the customs and all of the craziness to try and get teas out internationally. So here are the field notes for this tea, which it comes with a beautiful card. Homare is a Gyokuro blend that comes from one of our old friends who is a 5th generation Gyokuro and matcha producer. He is running his family's Uji Kyoto-based tea business, Haikusen, which was established in 1867. The blend is said to represent the classic blue-green essence and vibrancy of the Uji tea terrier. Its complexity is derived from aged and blended cultivars, including a high percentage of goko. The blend is made according to an old technique and formula held by the Haikusen company that differentiates their Gyokuro from all other Uji brands. Homare is about 50% hand-picked and 50% scissors cut. The teas are harvested in Kyotanabe, Ujitawara, and Fukuchiyama. Nearly the same raw materials for Shupen Gyokuro are used in the Homare blend, but the ratio of Ujitawara is higher in Shupen. And this is from the Uji Kyoto Prefecture, Japan. They just do a fantastic job describing the tea and really packaging it beautifully. Kolya, who you know Kolya from VOKDAMS, who was on the show, he said that their teas are like the Apple packaging of teas. It's such a beautiful package. So I'm going to go ahead and blend it or steep it here, blend it, steep it, and we'll see how this tastes. It's a beautiful, the camera can't really see, but just a beautiful color, blue-green, vibrant is what these leaves look like. You really feel fancy when you're serving this tea, let me tell you. I know he's just watching, going, "Wow, I wish I had that right now." It's coming to you.
I mean,
I swear.
I have to say, Aaron, you just reading it, just reading it made me so excited for this tea to be finally here in a couple of days, and I will
Perfect.
definitely appreciate it. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
and let us know how it is when you receive it. Let me tell you, this does have some special steeping instructions, and that is that what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to boil your water and then let it cool to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it is really good if you actually have it on like a second flush. So, having all of those sort of notes. And while that's steeping, we're going to go ahead and dive. I know we focused on the tea a lot today, but this is just such a special tea that Rishi specifically, I talked with their customer support and we have a great relationship with them, and they recommended this. So I wanted to give due diligence to all of the hard work that Rishi Tea put into shipping this tea to us and to Hannes for this. While it's steeping, because it does have to steep for a little bit, I'm going to jump into the questions and let's see where this goes. So the first few questions, Hannes, are really sort of quick fire answers. It's sort of this or that, very quick, a description, or, just something very fast. So here we go. My first question is, what is MC Beach Fest?
You've done your research. I'm really happy you called it MC Beach Fest and not Mac Beach Fest.
Yep.
So you see, I don't know if there's a really fast answer to it, but we do a festival once a year. It's happening in Berlin, and it's the organizer is the Marketing Club Berlin, and therefore it's MC Marketing Club B Berlin, and we call this festival, which comes with an award for the Berlin marketing community. We call it MC Beach Fest, and I sit on the board of the marketing club in Berlin, and it's basically just a club of local marketeers on the corporate side, working in marketing departments, so many CMOs, for example, but also on the agency and consultancy side, on the supplier side. So there's a bunch of cool people coming together once a year for the MC Beach Fest. We're currently organizing the next one in June 2023. And you probably saw the one with the pictures from 2022, which was quite a blast.
Wow. Fantastic. I'm expecting an invitation, by the way. No, just all the way from the United States, kind of breaking the Berlin, I guess, community there. Then tea or coffee?
Let's make it happen. Let's
perfect.
make it happen.
You're
invited as
perfect.
a special guest. Maybe you can deliver a keynote or some remarks from some dispatch from the US.
That would be really cool. All right, let's talk. All right, next question is tea or coffee?
You know that I'm a tea lover. I very rarely drink coffee. It's just literally like once a month or even once every 6 weeks I drink coffee. And then I'm really awake, I'm really awake because with tea, it's a more long-term effect. So I love to drink tea. I drink maybe a liter, 1.5 liters per day.
Wow.
Every time I choose tea.
That's the exact same amount that Kolya said on the show, actually. He said he does.
Influence.
Yeah, he said he does drink up to 2 some days, 2 liters. So that is a lot of tea. All right, digital or print media?
Good question. So just a couple of weeks ago, I would have said digital because I'm this, gadget guy who needs to own everything. But I read a book recently called The Future is Analog from David Sachs. And he has written a book before called The Revenge of Analog. And that's a really cool book from I think a Canadian author who made some really good points about the analog future that is still worth exploring, and why also some analog tools like print media has also still value. So I read both. I read magazines in print still, my weekly subscription to a big German magazine is still in print, but I also, of course, read a lot in digital. So I could not really choose. I would choose both if that's possible.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. All right, and the next question is, and I think everybody wants to know, what is Mr. Wolf Consulting? Take us through what you do and what it is.
Yeah, happy to do it. So do you know Winston Wolf?
I do not know Winston Wolf. No.
So Winston Wolf is a character from a very famous Quentin Tarantino movie called Pulp Fiction. And in this movie,
Oh,
Pulp
okay,
Fiction,
yes, I do. Okay, yes. Now that you've, all right, I was like, no, I thought it was maybe an actual person. So, okay, okay, perfect.
so
Making
it's this
sense now.
fictitious character. It's this character who comes in and he just solves problem. There's this famous line in the movie where he gets a call and he's asked like, "Can you come?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm 10 minutes away. I'm 30 minutes away. I will be there in 10. See you." So this is
Wow.
the guy who is really a problem solver. And when we set out to create this consultancy, we said, how do we want to work for our clients? What is different about us? And we said we want to be like Mr. Wolf. We want to come in, we want to solve problems. We don't want to be too dependent on one single industry. We don't want to serve one single channel. For example, there are a lot of digital agencies out there. Kolya, that you mentioned, is running this big live event agency. We, as Mr. Wolf said, we want to be more on the strategic side. We want to work omni-channel, and we really want to help people and help solve problems. So this was the initial
Right.
impulse to found Mr. Wolf.
Wow.
And what we do today is mainly a lot of strategic marketing stuff. And most of it is target group analysis, actually. So we help our clients to better understand their target groups, because it doesn't matter what you do. If you come up with a communication campaign, or if you do digital marketing, or if you're trying to come up with a new product even, or with a pricing scheme, the target group needs are always the basis, of course, for all
Right.
your conceptualizations and so on. So we do a lot of persona workshops. We do a lot of working, helping our clients to better understand their target groups.
Wow. Okay. So there's probably a lot of research involved with that, a lot of diving into data,
Exactly.
analytics. Okay.
And I have some really crazy people on the team who can do much more with when it comes to statistics than I can. But you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. There's the quantitative approach of really doing data analytics and diving deep into the data. But there's also, of course, the qualitative approach. Doing
Right.
interviews and focus groups and really trying to figure out what are the maybe even underlying needs of our consumers and of our customers. So
That makes
this
sense.
is a lot of what we do. But I would say we're not a traditional market research institute. We don't have our own panel or so. We always
Yeah.
try to focus in what is the problem of the client and how can we help with that. And then maybe even, and this is maybe the last sentence, the last very promotional sentence. The thing that differentiates us is, I think, a implementation driven approach. A lot of consultancies, they come in and they only do the analysis, the insights, and then they
Right.
hand over to an agency who's executing stuff. And I have seen in my life a lot of slide decks where there's, I don't know, 100 PowerPoint pages, and in the end you ask, yeah, but what to do about it? There's a lot of
Yeah.
analysis, and you can, I mean, I'm sure you know it. There is, on the client side, sometimes there is this analysis paralysis where you
Yep.
have all the information, but you don't know what to do. And this is
Yep.
where the Mr. Wolf style, the problem solver style comes in. This is the analysis, but at the same time, we go in and come up with creative ideas and try
Yeah.
to come up with very specific, maybe even MVPs that we can just trial and see what sticks.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Wow. Okay, so then, what was your journey like to become the managing director at Mr. Wolf? You worked at, VOKDAMS, which seems like it had a huge influence on you, and then you started this other sort of consultancy agency, and you also worked for Volkswagen. I mean, some huge brands. What was that journey like to get to where you are now?
it has been a ride. So I'm yeah, I try to come up with a explanation for the ride, but it's really hard to explain it, of course. And there's a
Yep.
lot of decisions happening at the specific time and place that I cannot even, explain now to myself why I have chosen this way. And the full disclaimer, we are still part, as Mr. Wolf, we are still part of the VOKDAMS group. So I have some shares in the company, but also the larger VOKDAMS group has shares. So we are part of this VOKDAMS group. And we really work collaboratively with the guys around Kolya. So
Gotcha.
I when I finished so when I finished my studies, I would say I wanted to go to a brand that is really, worldwide known and that is really has some credibility and where I can do really an impact, where I can make an impact. And then I joined Volkswagen in Wolfsburg in Germany at their headquarters, and I worked there in a department called experiential marketing. And
Oh.
it felt
Ooh.
like hitting a wall, to be honest. To be
Oh.
really honest, it felt like hitting a wall. I was this really, curious, driven guy coming from university. I did this semester abroad in Hong Kong and studied marketing and everything, and I wanted to change the world. And then I started at this big company and it felt a little bit like, I don't know, you hit the wall, just this
Yeah.
bureaucracy and this big company, and you have to get a permission for everything. And actually, you're doing nothing or you're not learning much because the agencies are doing everything for you. So I
Right.
only stuck around for half a year or so, and then I said, okay, I need to change here. I need to switch maybe to the agency side. And I asked
Right.
my
Right.
boss at that time, and I'm really grateful for her input. I asked her, what is a great agency? And she said, yeah, you should go to VOKDAMS. And she even called at that time. She called Kolya and said, "I have this guy." And then, because I was coming from the client side, VOKDAMS had to hire me,
Yeah.
basically. So I started at VOKDAMS in almost 10 years ago in 2012 and
Wow.
never looked back. So I really had a great time working there, not in executing events, sometimes in conceptualizing and developing and designing events, but most of the time on the more strategic side. There was a department called
Right.
VOKDAMS Consulting and then VOKDAMS Strategic Solutions. And what we did was always asking what are the motives, what are the needs and wishes from the event guests, and how can we deliver events for this particular demographic or target group. So a lot of, again, analysis and strategic insight, um, and also more strategic stuff like which events, which third-party events like trade shows should this brand go
Oh.
to, or how do
Yeah.
I measure the impact of events? How do I measure the return on invest of events? So a lot of these strategic questions and projects led to me asking myself if I want to have a more broader experience and be more a advisor and consultant in a more omni-channel or cross-channel capacity. So not only talk about
Right.
events and live marketing, but have also the same questions and answers in digital marketing, for example. And this is where I said I want to be more independent. I want to have my own little small business or a segment of a business. And we founded Mr. Wolf Consulting. And as I said, Kolya is still one of the shareholders and one of my close partners. And I really enjoy working with the colleagues of VOKDAMS, but also running my own little show here, Mr. Wolf
That's
Consulting,
cool.
with now a team of 8 people, actually, eight
Wow.
individuals that
Congratulations.
support me. We started in 2017. It's just me and a working student, and now we grew this business to 8 individuals that really, which I value every day, like coming into the office and working with these great guys.
Yeah. Wow. That is. You said it was quite the journey, and I bet that was the sort of shortened version of the entire journey. Um, what role did mentors and different business leaders play in that journey?
I Does that work? Like this? Is it
Looks
okay?
good.
At the
That'll be
okay.
good.
Open it up at the bottom. Sorry for that. So how about this? Does it work?
Perfect.
Thank you. So mentors, I would say you can never overestimate the value of great mentors. And I had a few, like from the beginning, Collier was there, but also other mentors. I don't know if they can see it, like David Korte, Tim Kriegelstein, all these guys who were my first bosses and the guys which I learned so much from. I cannot, I'm 100% sure that I would not be in the position that I am now without those guys. So
Yeah.
it's about giving wiggle room. I don't know if that's the correct
Yeah,
terminology.
wiggle room. Yeah,
You,
yeah, that yeah.
this freedom that you can have only under a great boss who trusts you and who really makes sure that you have some face time with even your boss's boss and so on. So this is really important, and I highly value those interactions.
That's we hear a lot of people on the show say that relationships are everything and getting them where they are and in accomplishing goals. So that's been something that we've seen time and time again. Kolya had mentors. Everybody has somebody who's like, all right, let's take it to the next level, and yeah, to give you that wiggle room, that creative space to develop yourself, um, and not to just, as you said, you got stuck in one where you were in the bureaucracy and it was just doom, 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 doom. You didn't really have any wiggle room there, where you really start to
And
grow. I
this
think
is
is
not to
within that wiggle room.
completely agree. And this is not to say, of course, that you cannot have a really fulfilling career on the corporate side as well. But for me,
Right.
agency side was definitely a lot better because I can grow much faster. And when I, coach my direct reports, even today, I say there are two things that determine your career: your results and your relationships. And if you only have one,
Mm.
it will not work out. So you need both results and relationships.
We call that spilling the tea on marketing tip tea time. That was a great bit of advice, and I always repeat it for everyone who's watching or listening. He said that you need two things: you need your results and your relationships, and you need them both to happen together. So write that down if you're a student. And wow, that's some great advice. It sounds like a lot of what you do is data driven, analytics driven, but there's still this creative side. Can you tell me how creative work plays a role in Mr. Wolf Consulting and what you do for clients?
It's of vital importance. I would say that clients value this so much when we come in and they say, "Oh, finally, I have one partner." Especially like when you have small and medium-sized businesses as clients, they
Mm,
cannot. It is too expensive to have one consultancy doing the strategy and the analysis and the insights, and then one agency for this, and one agency for this, and then one agency for this channel. They value us as one partner, one-stop shop where they can get all their marketing needs fulfilled. Let's say it this way, okay?
oh,
So basically, they oftentimes say to me, prior to engaging Mr. Wolf, I needed a consultancy doing the analysis and the insights, and then I needed a creative agency to take this slide deck and come up with creative ideas. And we, not all the time, but most of the times, we manage to deliver both and come up with a more integrated version of that. Because from the
wow.
analysis, there comes the creative ideas. You have these jumping off points that are oftentimes get lost when you work with two separate partners. It's a little bit like, I always do
Yeah.
this comparison to Apple. Apple computers are so, or also the smartphones are so usable because hardware and software are coming from the same provider. And
Yeah.
this is the same with us. The analysis, the insights, and also the creative ideas are coming from the same provider. And this is what a lot of clients really value. So, yeah, creativity is really a big part of our business. We have people in the team, we have individuals that are really more focused on the creative part of the equation. So there
Right.
are these people who, scroll through the internet the entire day because creativity in essence is just a combination of existing approaches. But
Right.
they scrolled through the internet and they found the weirdest stuff, and they always make it applicable to our clients' problems. And then we have more analytical guys who, as you said, are digging deep into the data, have tremendous, SPSS and Excel and all these data-driven tools skills.
Oh wait, you
But
said
you need both.
SPSS. You use SPSS?
Yeah, from time to time, sure.
Oh my
We
gosh,
need to
you're the
really.
only agency in all. I learned that in college. I learned how to use SPSS. You're the only agency I've ever talked to who has ever said they use SPSS. That's incredible.
We also use Tableau, and we also use
Oh, I love Tableau.
other
Yeah.
tools like. So there's a lot of statistics and analysis of course going on. So, but you don't have to be a data analyst. You don't have to, I can program a little bit in R, this statistical programming language, and I can
Yeah.
use SPSS. But I'm of course not a professional only doing this. I'm running the company here, but I have people in the team, of course, who are really knowledgeable when it comes to finding this little insight that all the others missed in the stream of data. Because as I
Right.
said earlier, it's not so much that we don't have the data, it's that we don't have clarity and that we don't have the time to think and really look at what we have as data generated and really come up with an insight and say, this is particular about the target group. It's this little motive structure that sticks, and this can be the basis of our whole segmentation, and that others maybe missed. And they just did a socio-demographic segmentation and saying our target group is, I don't know, 35 to 55 with this income. But they forget about the psychographics. They forget about needs and wants and underlying desires.
Wow. That is really cool. I think this is a really important episode, especially for some students, because me going through marketing school, we learned SPSS, we learned Tableau, we learned R, we learned all these things, and then we never used them again. And I use Tableau. I love Tableau, but Reardon, if you're watching, I'm gonna send this to my old professor, Professor Reardon, because he's the one who taught us all of that. It looks like people do use these do use these things. I yeah, I'm sort of surprised. Sorry, I was just yeah, surprised by the suite of tools that you're using is so sophisticated that you must get very precise personas and segmentation and demographic information and psychographic information, which is what puts you sort of ahead of all the other companies doing this as well.
I mean, just two comments from my side. I would say first, what we always do is we try to make these personas in a way that you can actually work with them. All the data
Right.
analytics, all the underlying structures and everything, it doesn't accumulate too much if you have a persona in the end that it's not usable. So when we come up with personas, for example, to segment the target group and to make it visible what they want and how they want to receive marketing communications from our clients, then we always try to come up with also a process and a way to yeah, make these personas usable, and it's sometimes really basic, it's not sophisticated at
Yeah.
all. It's just, this big persona canvas, just print it in the largest size possible, print it and put it in your office so that you have it visible. I see so many personas that are in a drawer, that are in a
Mm.
drawer and that are
Yep.
not used. But a persona is only as good as you use it on a daily basis. When you write your email newsletter text, when you come up with an Instagram visual, only then is a persona a good persona if you use it on a daily basis. So this is
Right.
something that is important. And the other aspect that I want to mention here is that, of course, the quantitative stuff is important. And as you said, there are a lot of tools that you can use. We don't use these tools in every single project and in every single day, but we use it fairly often because it is important. But a second layer is also important, which is the qualitative aspect of it. we do a lot of interviews and a lot of focus groups, and then we analyze it. And there's also some methods and methodologies that we can geek out about, content analysis, from Myring that you can use with color coding, interview transcripts,
Ooh.
and everything. Of course, this is fancy, but one of the best, or some of the best personas that we actually did with just thinking about the target group together with the client and having a workshop with their sales representatives who knows the customers from our client
Mm.
for 20 years. And we just come up with this stuff. We don't had a focus group, we don't had an interview, no survey was sent out that was sophisticatedly analyzed, but we just had a very experienced senior salesperson who knew the client and could say, oh, this person, this segment, we always approach this way, and this segment we approach this way. And then we just had to take notes and write it down.
Wow.
So there's always this mixture of quantitative surveys, qualitative interviews, maybe some statistics that are publicly available about a certain demographic or psychographic.
Right.
And then also these just workshops where we talk about the target group and their behavior.
Wow. That is a fantastic method of, different angles and approaching the same sort of problem through multiple angles, where some of it is just trusting in the staff that the company already has, the salespeople, to say, okay, you've been here for a long time, you know what's happening, go ahead and tell us. And that must be super empowering for their team then as well, to think they trust us enough to say, we're going to sit down with you because So that must be empowering to the team as well. I'm going to
You mentioned
switch.
a very, very good point.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
Sorry, Dun. You mentioned a very good point. We say we never develop personas for our clients. We always say we develop it together with them, because they know their target group. They know their customers. We just deliver the tools and maybe the analysis, the MarTech stack, to maybe deepen the understanding or asking the right questions in a semi-structured interview or in a focus group. But we always do it together collaboratively with the client, because if we develop for them, then there is no buy-in on the client side. And so very good point that you mentioned about the trust that comes from actually developing it as a client themselves.
Yeah, that's cool. This tea, guys, I'm going to switch gears for a second. Sorry, Hannes. It's amazing. It is an amazing tea. It's very subtle. It's sort of like Essentia, but a little bit deeper, a little bit more texture, a little bit richer, which is exactly what Rishi told me it would be. So thank you again, Rishi. I just wanted to highlight the tea now that it's been steeped and I've been drinking it for a little bit. It's really great if you have a slight cold and then you have a tea show. It actually works out pretty well to be drinking the tea. My next question, you must have been through a million problems that you've solved. A million different angles that you approach different problems. Can you tell me about a really crazy problem that you solved for a client at Mr. Wolf and how you solved that? And you don't have to mention the client, but just whatever the problem was.
Yeah, good question. Let me think about where do we have existing NDAs and what can I reveal or maybe disguise a little bit. So I think one project that is really, really a long time ago, which we started in the last decade, where I can also mention the client was for a European sports car company that you might be heard of. It's called Lamborghini.
No, Lamborghini, I've never. Yeah, no, I know, I know Lamborghini for sure. Yeah.
So there is, of course, a very particular target group when you think of who is buying a €500,000 Lamborghini. It's not the old rich, it's not old money, right? It's more like the sports superstar, or maybe the hustler, or the one who is really who's self-made and who has a certain psychographic, who's maybe not so much an academic or so on, right? Not a businessman.
Right.
And these are the guys who are buying Lamborghinis, mostly guys. And when we delve deep into the data and try to look at these target groups, we found out that actually the Lamborghini is, on average, the fifth car of the household, which is curious, I
Whoa.
think.
That's very
And
interesting.
and we found a lot more about the target group. Maybe I can remember other stuff, but what we had as a task, as a problem to solve from the client. This is what we always ask our clients, like, what is the problem that we can solve? They said that they had this new car out. At this time, it was the Lamborghini Huracan. So the Lamborghini Aventador was the one that was really selling successfully, €500,000, really aggressive, bold,
Yeah.
cutting edge. And the Lamborghini Huracan was a little bit more uh, on the, I don't know, not so bold, not so loud. It's a little bit more rounded edges, and it was only a quarter of a million, only 250,000 euro. And it was more presented as maybe a car that also a female buyer would buy. But
Mm.
they found out that it was really well selling in the US and, for example, in the uh, United Arabs in these countries, but in the EMEA region in Europe, it was not selling very well. So
Hmm.
we delved deep into the target group and found out, okay, what is the problem? Okay, there are other brands that are more for these buyers. Maybe when you're female, when you're more sophisticated, when you don't want such an aggressive car, you're buying a very expensive Porsche, or you're buying
Right.
a McLaren or a Ferrari, and you're not buying Lamborghini. So we really looked at this target group and said, okay, what are their needs? Where are they? Where are the touch points with these target groups? Do we find them at golf courses, or do we find them in fancy restaurants or private member clubs? And we developed a very interesting strategy for them. Again, analysis and insight, and then directly from this creative ideas and actual creative concepts. So the creative concept that we came up with was quite interesting. We said that we might um, partner with a realtor. The realtor is selling villas and nice mansions above from 15 million euros. And in these mansions, we just said, okay, we knew from the target group research that these mansions are also, when they are sold, they are fully furnitured, right? All the furnitures are
Right.
already in there. And we said, okay, let's put a Lamborghini in the garage. And we can ask the couple who's buying the house, we can ask, should we leave the Lamborghini in or not? Like, it's like the furniture, do you want to have it or not? And it's basically a very old upsell technique. You have something that has a certain value that comes at a certain price point, and then you can upsell a little bit. When you buy a coat, you always get asked if you want to have a scarf or something with it.
Yeah.
And when you buy a mansion with 15 million euros, then maybe you want to have this 250,000 euro Lamborghini in the garage, because it's the fifth car of the household anyway. It's a fun car. It's not
Wow.
either you have this car or not. You have a collection of cars. So the client was really happy, and in the end, I think we sold, like, just with this one technique out of a few that we proposed, we sold 7 cars. And at this time,
Oh,
total, I think the total one was 200 cars all over Europe per year, and so 7 cars really made a difference. So this is one of the very specific ideas that we can only come up with because we really understand the target group. I always say, we
yeah.
are the advocate of the target group. I'm always baffled with how uh, with so less companies, so few companies only understand their target groups,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to B2C. Um, so I always say the bait is for the fish and not for the one who's fishing. So we really
Right.
understand what the fish likes.
Wow. Yeah, we see that all the time as well, where sometimes there'll be certain clients who the marketing that they want is kind of for them. It's what they
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
and not exactly for the customer. And we have that conversation all the time with clients where we say, if you like what the marketing looks like, there's a good chance you're not quite doing it right.
Absolutely
So,
right. And I
wow.
see so many, just walking down the street in Berlin, I see so many like out of home advertisings, so many TV ads, all the ad campaigns that I see that I know. And I think to myself, oh, there's a marketeer who really loved this idea, but it doesn't
Yeah.
resonate with the target group. I can promise it doesn't resonate with the target group. It only resonates with marketeers and with the marketing department of this
Yep.
individual brand. So a persona can really help with it, actually. If you really
Yeah.
think, okay, this persona, it's called, I don't know, Aaron. Aaron is this age, and Aaron has these motives and these underlying desires. And if you really think, okay, what would Aaron like? Then it's way better than just guessing what and coming up
Right.
with solutions that maybe even the marketing department just doesn't like.
Again, spilling the tea here on marketing tip tea time. Fantastic bit of advice. Our last question is, what is, and we've covered this a little bit, you've alluded to it a little bit, but what is the number one skill that a person should have if they want to work at Mr. Wolf Consulting with you?
As you mentioned, we touched upon the subject a couple of times that we have specialists on the team, but I would say it's like a T specialization. They go deep in one topic, but overall they have a broad knowledge and are more like generalists. So I would say, and one single skill is really hard because if you're really advanced in one skill, then it's not the same for everyone. Maybe I would say that one skill that I always look for in new hires is, can they bring clarity to the table? Even
Mm,
at a young age, you because there's so much going on, and especially as you know, on the agency or on the supplier side, you have a lot of different client demands, and there's a lot of emails and Slack and a lot of stuff going on, and you
yep.
get overloaded really easy. So in that kind of environment, that I often call a hyperactive hive mind, uh, a hyperactive hive mind, that was coined by Cal Newport, a really good author. In this hyperactive hive mind environment, can you create clarity? Can you sit on a table and really clearly have an argument and with a logical structure, and can really derive from facts and data? Can you really derive the essence? This
Right.
type of bringing clarity is something that is really important. That is maybe the number one skill that I look for in new hires at Mr. Wolf.
Wow. I think that's really important because many people come, and even in school, especially in the US, we're sort of taught, there's a, let's say you have a report and you have to have a certain number of pages. They say fill 10 pages. Well, you start to just have lots of fluff. And, starting my own agency, and I'm sure the longer it is, the more confusing it gets for whatever you're trying to convey. As short and succinct and clear as you can make a message or a persona or something so that it takes no time to understand it is really, really, yeah, what you said, that essence, getting to the essence and making sure that we can do that. And a lot of people have to unlearn that from school, have to unlearn the write me 10 pages worth of a report, write me 100 pages worth of something. Um, and I think that's
I
very good
completely
for,
agree.
yeah, I think that's very good for, people to understand, those who are students and or lifelong students who are, constantly learning in whatever their role is. I think that's really important. Well, let me
There
tell you,
is a
everyone,
quote.
that. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I love quotes.
Sorry, we have a little lag here. So just one thing to wrap it up, because I loved what you just said. There is this quote which is attributed to multiple authors. I don't know which one is the real one, but he was starting a letter with saying, "Thank you for your letter earlier. Please excuse my long answer. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter one." So this is exactly what you just said in a quote. And I think
Perfect.
what the shock that I see in my directs when they start working here or when they start working in general, when they're coming out of university, as you said, they need to unlearn. And the shock is, okay, nobody gives nobody
Yeah.
gives anything. But, the teachers, the professors, they are paid actually to read through your stuff. They are paid to read through your stuff and market. And in marketing, nobody is paid to read through your messaging. Nobody is paid to look at your the content that you're creating. So you
Right.
completely need to unlearn and create content that is really valuable in itself and that people love to watch and listen to and read. And this, yeah, takes some time. Yeah.
That's a great point. That's a great point. They're paid to read our answers. So, you know, of course, a longer answer doesn't matter. Um, huh. Yeah, it's really making me think there. That's another spilling the tea on the show. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for Hannes. But let me tell you, we're gonna have Hannes back for sure. I feel like we could talk about a lot of other things on this show with Hannes and dive into some more technical and creative aspects of his business. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate you wrapping up your workday with us, and we get to start our workday with you, so that's fantastic. Thank you to everyone who makes this show possible. Bike Shop Agency, Josh French, one of our producers, Phil Van Drunen, another one of our producers, Peter Romero, our graphics and music supervisor, Sheridan and Alyssa Youngval, our set designers, and thank you to Blaine Chastain, the owner of the studio in the building, who allows us to use this. And everyone who has ever watched the show, we love you. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also go check out Mr. Wolf Consulting. You can check them out online, mrwolfconsulting.com, and so you can go find him online and you can find his business. You can look at their social media. I did to do a little bit of research. Also, go ahead and connect with Hannes on LinkedIn. He has a lot of very interesting content that he posts, and I'm going to be following, well into the future, everything that he's posting, because he posts a lot of really great stuff. And you can follow the MC Beach Fest through his LinkedIn as well, which is where we got that information. Again, everyone, like, share, subscribe, and Hannes, again, thank you so much for being on the show. And until next time, everyone, Nastravi, cheers. Thank you.